Let's shift gears here. I want to talk about something that's really, truly frightening here. The guidelines that were issued this past week by the DEA, that's the Drug Enforcement Agency, on how to handle the deadly drug fentanyl. It's called A Brief Guide for First Responders. And you would think like, okay, what you come into contact with it, you put it in a jar, or find a way to wrap it up. It's definitely not that simple, because what happens here is, according to the DEA, even coming into contact with a few grains of fentanyl can be lethal. Think back to the death of Princess. So what is going on with this, and why is fentanyl popping up here in our local lexicon for battling against the war on drugs, not against people who are taking drugs, but in trying to stop access to this? Talk about this morning with Ryan Davis, who's an addiction specialist here. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going well. Fentanyl never at the top of the list here. We talk a lot about opioids. We talk about heroin. We talk about prescription drugs, painkillers, etc. How to stop and how to do proper interdiction. Try to treat people with this instead of just throwing them behind bars. But fentanyl, I mean, where does this come in from, and what do you know about this drug specifically?
So fentanyl is becoming a big problem, not only in the Houston area where I am, but across the country. Fentanyl was originally introduced as a painkiller to treat severe pain in cancer patients. But now it is being used intravenously, mixed with heroin. And the reason being is it's cheaper on the street, and it's 50 to 100 times more powerful than heroin. And people become way more addicted to fentanyl than they would be if it was just straight heroin that they were using.
So let's say you were somebody that wanted to try this, and you had somebody else who was experienced. In case they weren't, when you use the figure 50 to 100 times more powerful, that sounds to me like something that can be 50 to 100 times more lethal in the wrong combination.
Exactly, and that's why we're seeing so many more overdoses because of this fentanyl. Most reason being is because people that are actively using and actively in their addiction, they don't know that the product that they're getting is mixed with the fentanyl. They're thinking that it's heroin, and these drug dealers are not informing the people that they're selling to because it's cheaper, and they don't really care about what they're using. They just care about the profit, of course. And that's why it's becoming more and more of a problem, because we're going to see more and more of our young, old. It doesn't really discriminate, but we're going to be seeing more and more people die from this drug.
So it falls into the same classification here, like other opioid painkillers, but it's very, very strong for severe, as you were saying, for severe pain, right? And if you do go into an overdose here, what would typically occur? I'm going to assume some kind of respiratory cardiac distress.
Right. So if someone were to overdose, there is a new drug called Narcan, and you can administer Narcan, but it has to be right away, and it will revive them in case of an accidental overdose. Where
Right.
I am at program director at Taylor Recovery in Houston, we keep the Narcan shots and nasal ingestions on property, just in case we have to go do a response outside and, someone is overdosing, we have that on property.
Yeah, and that Narcan, now that's a big deal now, because the mindset here in Michigan is, we talk all about crime and punishment, but you can't treat someone who's dead. So save the life here and work from there. Is that the bottom line mindset too you have?
Oh, definitely. That's our first priority, is to save the life. People that are in that active addiction, it's really a disease that no one understands unless you're in the business or you've been directly affected by someone who's in their active addiction. And that's our first main priority, is to save the life. that's what it is.
All right. What about officers here that come in contact? I mean, if you come in contact with a marijuana joint, maybe some hash in a bowl, these type of things, you're like, even in a bag, cocaine, you could see where they've been dividing it up and creating lines on a table, a piece of glass. That's age old. Why is it just why do they have to be so careful here with this? And if you get it on your skin, touch your nose, you could just knock yourself out. Is that going too far? Is that true?
No, that's definitely true. And the reason they have to be so careful these days is because we don't know what these powder substances are that our first responders are coming in contact with. It could be cocaine. It could be heroin. It could be meth, but it also could be fentanyl, which is very lethal. And we have to have more training for our first responders, and they can't go into a situation blind and just, touch any substance that they may think it's something other than fentanyl. It happened a couple of, weeks ago with a first responder. He got a little bit in his hand and had to be administered Narcan 3 or 4 times just to be revived.
Wow.
So it's a very serious situation.
Well, that's just beyond strong, and I think we're used to saying that maybe the worst case situations are coming into contact with the toxic mix in these where they're cooking meth. But now this takes it to another extreme. Is it widespread, or is it confined to certain areas of the country?
Oh, it's definitely widespread. It's all over the country, and it's becoming more and more prevalent as the days go on. And like I said, it doesn't discriminate. It affects everyone, from the blue-collar worker to all the way up to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Ryan, have you worked with any? Have you worked with any clients who were using this either on a regular basis or tried it and lived to tell the tale, or is it from your standpoint, coming into personal contact, has it been relatively rare?
Oh, no. So it's been more prevalent as of lately.
Yeah.
We've seen more and more clients come in abusing fentanyl, and, everyone's tolerance level is a little different. And if you have been an active heroin user for years, then you can probably tolerate more fentanyl than someone who's actually trying it for the first time.
Yeah, you're looking to jack up your experience because it takes more and more to get you high, right?
Exactly. You're exactly right.
All right. And is it once you get somebody who's been hooked on fentanyl, is it easy to bring them down off cloud 9 or bring them back from the dead, literally, or is it a tough process, as tough as any of the other addictive substances?
Oh, it's definitely a tough process. And, the withdrawals that they go through, they're crippling. It's tough on them. And, so we usually have to send them to a detox center before they come to us. And after that, we try to get them on a medication that will, help the cravings and subside the pain and going forward. But it's not going to be an easy process, that's for sure.
Fentanyl, some people take it. They choose to take it. That's one thing. A big mistake. Some people don't know they're taking it, and they get stuck with it. That can be lethal. And some come in contact as first responders. They're trying to help in a situation, and sometimes they need to be revived. This is some bad stuff. Ryan, where do we find you online?
So we're at TaylorRecovery.com. You can visit our website, and you'll have more information about our programming and everything that we have to offer to help out in this crazy addiction disease.
Yeah, and don't forget about the Narcan now. It's a big deal, and that's a lifesaver as well, but only if it's properly administered, and timing is everything with that as well. Ryan, thanks for being here very much.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Ryan Davis, addiction specialist, Taylor Recovery.